All right, let's get our Facebook groups in here. And we got the spinning wheels going. Boom and boom. All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday morning, the last Monday morning show in a bit. Scott, how you doing, man? I know that we were talking this morning. A little tired this morning, getting up and at it. I think we're ready for the going down to 2 days a week. Hopefully the chat is okay with that as well. But what's new? How was kids sports this weekend?
Busy. Have I mentioned to you how insane softball is?
Girl sports is sometimes pretty
It's
damn insane
insane.
and
I mean,
competitive.
the boys aren't tough enough to play softball. I mean, they'll play 8 games in a day. My daughter plays 12U. She's 11, and they asked her to play up because they needed some players. Well, you know what up is after 12U?
What?
18U.
Oh my God.
So Hayden played an 18U playoff tournament, and frankly, the first game she was player of the game. She was 2 for 2 with a double, couple runs scored, an RBI, and then threw 2 batters out at third base from catcher.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
she was. It was interesting, and then Sean had some baseball this weekend too. A couple of games yesterday. Played okay, not great, but he got on the mound for the first time in a long time and looked great. So we go to an instructor, and his instructor, I ran into him Friday night when Hayden was playing. I said, hey, if you need somebody, he goes, well, we're full now. I said, well, roster him anyway. You never know. So he texts me Saturday night, says, I lost a kid. Can you all be here? I'm like, yeah. He says, can he pitch? I'm like, well, you've coached him. Throw him out there. He'll pitch for you. And he looked great because he doesn't like it because he's not just immediately good at it. Like, as tall as you are, 5'10", built like a swimmer, long, lean, coming down the mound. He looked good. Kevin, I see him. I see Nick on the screen. Enough talk about my family.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm here hanging out. Yeah, well, that's good to hear, man. That's awesome to hear Hayden played so well with the other people at the 18U team. I've just been doing housework and chores all week because we have a guest coming, and next couple weeks are going to be a blast. Backpacking in Olympic for a few days, and then going down to Oregon, hanging out at the Gorge, and then going to Cannon Beach, which is where the Goonies was shot and supposed to be one of the coolest beaches in the world. And we're going to be there during the second lowest tide of the entire year, and they have puffins on the top of this rock. Yeah, so I'm gonna get up
puffins.
Close. Really cool. Apparently, they typically live on these sea cliffs and haystack or stack rocks out way far in the ocean. But this one is a rarity where it's so close to the actual beach that you can actually get up to this rock. So we get to go out and see puffins, which is going to be really cool. It always makes me think of a elf, bye, buddy. Goodbye, Arctic Puffin. So, but goodbye or hello to Miguel coming in here with the Facebook support. Thank you so much, Miguel, over on the Facebook side of things. If you guys want to be like Miguel and support us on the show, make sure you drop a super chat or a super sticker, super support like Michael Ronquillo, who's definitely a super supporter, superstar for us over on Facebook. He says, good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and buck 'em. Buck you too, Michael. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope things are doing well down there in sunny Tucson, Arizona. I think I'm such a Midwestern. Maybe it's just a kind of a approaching middle age, dad-ish energy that I have. But talking about the weather, it's going to be an El Nino this year. So I think Michael's going to get a little bit of wetness down there with the monsoon. But Albert Knopper is coming in. Hello again. Good to see you, Albert. And shout out to Albert with the Scott month. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say Albert. Albert had been working on this for me and sent it to me over the weekend. Albert does some cool stuff with mailboxes, so thank you very much, Albert. This is on this side, and then because he knows I do Atlanta stuff on this side. So if we're ever wondering if you're watching my channel, you're not sure what show you're on, or I'm not, hey Scott, make sure you flip the script on here. So this was very cool, Albert. Thank you so much for sending this to me.
Yeah, that is really cool. Shout out to that. I'm loving that. I'm a little jealous, Albert, but it's pretty cool. But the Falcon stuff is sick as well. So yeah, really shout out to make sure you guys are checking out Albert Knopper's work there. I want to say hello to Jesse Hilborn coming in, saying hello, everyone. We got Jeremy Sean coming in, saying happy morning, boys. Only question is how well Peyton and Russell Wilson will work together. The season starts and ends there. The season does start there. I don't know if it ends there, so to speak. Now, it's the only question that really matters. I agree with that. But a lot of the moves the Broncos made this season, we're trying to make this as independent of an offense as possible from the quarterback situation. We just spent an entire show on the Falcons talking about how Ritter is ranked 40th in Chris Sims' list and how the offense doesn't need him to do much with the infrastructure they have in place. Broncos are a ways off from what the Falcons have built around Ritter, but they are really trying to emphasize the running game this year and de-emphasizing just how much you are dependent on Russell Wilson being an elite drop back quarterback. So I think that is the biggest question by far, but I don't think the season begins and ends there because they're trying to build an offense that isn't completely dependent on Russell Wilson being a elite quarterback.
I think that's smart no matter – I think that should be the goal no matter where you are. I mean, it's nice to say that, okay, I've got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid builds his system, and then Patrick Mahomes is able to work outside that system when things break down. That's what makes him so special. Plus he can make – he's really good. But if you took an average quarterback and put him in Andy Reid's system, I would expect him to flourish. So it is system, it is coaching, it is putting players around you. Now, we're also talking about the Kansas City Chiefs versus a couple of teams that haven't made the playoffs in a combined 10 years. Mm-hmm. So being able to build that around you, and once you start getting a winning mentality, it's easier to attract free agents. Yeah. That was one of the things is the Broncos did a good job in free agency, but they overpaid a little bit. They had to spend a little bit to do that, which we said, hey, at the end of the day, money's going to talk with free agency, and you might have to overspend in a few spots, left guard, right tackle, but it's worth it if you fix those problems.
Yep. And a little bit more certainty there than the draft pick, obviously, because we have guys with sample size in the NFL, but still risk. There's no sure thing, and injuries happen. So we'll see how it plays out for the Broncos' heavy expenditures this offseason. But it will be fun to watch without a doubt. And good to see you, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. Kevin Gray coming in saying, morning, boys. Broncos country, Nick and Scott. How was your weekend? It was good. It was busy, but that's okay. The temperature dropped a lot, so it's nice and chilly in here now. I should have put on my moccasins and like a sweatshirt or something, but I'm okay. Ethan coming in saying, good morning, gents and Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. Jamal Killing's in the house. Good morning, Broncos country. Cristiano, we said switching over with the hosts. Good morning, Broncos country.
Thanks,
good
Cristiano.
To see you. Yeah, and same with Roderick Cook coming in saying, good appetizer. Didn't get enough, so delighted to join you on the other side. Well, we appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Richard Miles saying, good morning, fellas. Good to see you. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with Bronco fans. Yeah, hope everyone is doing well out there. Greg Smith, good to see you. Good morning, Broncos for breakfast. Awesome to see you. JD, good morning, Bronco fam. Awesome to see you. And Colin Wood said, is there such a thing as a backpacking violin? I think I've heard of people on the Appalachian Trail, like bringing like legitimate like guitars with them, and they go pretty slowly. But I think you could take, that's a little fiddle music out in the backcountry. I don't think people would really appreciate that trying to go over to bed. You got a nice mouth. Oh,
you got a bird mouth.
So yeah, getting into the what a transition here we'll do. Getting into the topic here, ESPN's Dan Graziano on ESPN Plus, which is a lot of the ESPN stuff these days, but we won't get too much into that. Says the Broncos' key question this season is, can Sean Payton save Russell Wilson? And he says these two have been talking about working together for a few years now, and in 2023 they'll finally get their chance. But after the way Wilson played in his first season in Denver, you could forgive Payton for wondering what he has gotten himself into. Things should be better organized around the Broncos this year than they were under Nathaniel Hackett, but the knock on Wilson has been that he struggles to play within the structure of an offense. Payton's offense provides plenty of structure, and if Wilson struggles the way he did in 2022, the Broncos are going to be looking for an exit strategy to get out of that big contract extension they gave Wilson last summer. Exactly stuff we've talked about on here. Nothing is reinventing the wheel on this one. Sean Payton, if he can salvage Russell Wilson, but with how much, the thing I walk away with here is like, what level of play do you have to get from Russell Wilson for him to be salvaged on this team? I mean, are you stuck with him for another season because of the contract? I know that there's a big chunk of change that becomes guaranteed on the 5th league day next year, so you have to kind of make a decision before that. But it really doesn't seem like Sean Payton, was infatuated, excited to work with him at all, that you might need to see a pretty dramatic turnaround that I'm not sure is even in there to have these guys be working together and think about them, competing for the next, 4+ years, let alone just one season.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the thing is, everybody says, well, just restructure Russ. Well, it's not that easy. Just because you hear that all the time, guys restructuring to create salary cap space doesn't mean it's just an automatic. There's certain qualifications you need to have where that becomes beneficial. And one of them needs to be a high salary cap hit. Russell Wilson does not have a high salary cap hit this year. It's only like $22 million. Next year, it escalates. Now, you asked a good question, and it's a question we'll be asking all season. how does Russell Wilson have to play in order for him to be back in 2024, or to say, listen, I'd be better off eating a dead cap hit in 2024 and rebooting, starting the rebuild that season, tear it all down and start rebuilding in 2024. There's lots of contracts I can do that with. Russell Wilson, I'd have to take a hit on that one, but Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Randy Gregory, 3 off the top of my head. Justin Simmons, I think he should be okay. Garrett Bowles, yeah. All guys whose the Broncos start having a lot more flexibility with contracts after this season in order to absorb a dead cap hit with Russell Wilson. So I think that is a great question. Where does he have to play in order to be back as a quarterback in 2024 with a $50 million cap hit? Might not be quite that much in 2024, but it escalates significantly.
Yeah.
I don't think okay is going to be good enough. Like, oh, yeah, he's a top 15 guy. Maybe at that point, Nick?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, honestly, the best departure landing pad we have coming up for the Broncos is that Russell Wilson plays well enough that you trade him this offseason. You can
get somebody to pick up some of that money.
Or, yeah, just pick up some of the – I think it becomes easier for that to do it, and it's not going to cost another team a lot. What are you talking about here? A third-round pick, maybe a fourth-round pick? You're going to eat
the base salary and roster bonuses are what you have to keep an eye on in that, because it'll be more about the dough than the draft compensation.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. But I think that is maybe – not the best case scenario, because best case scenario, Russell Wilson returns to a top 5 quarterback and it's all, sunshine and rainbows in Dove Valley and the Broncos are competing with the Chiefs. But just given the language and the rumors surrounding how Sean Payton feels with Russell Wilson, with what we've seen from Russell Wilson, maybe there's a situation this year where Russell Wilson plays better, but the Broncos are still wanting to move on. They're just not vibing with him in the locker room, and they think that they should, cut their losses. Best case scenario, trade him. And then whatever that looks like for the contract wise, it's probably more salvageable than the releasing of him. And then you get something back at the same time and you can kind of reset.
It still looks rough, man.
It's still rough, but
it's still rough because the base salary in 2024 is only 17, which makes him movable. It makes him movable. And then he's got an option of 8.4. So you're talking about, if you made a trade, the other team would be on the hook for about $25 million. Okay, well, that's not overly expensive in today's world of quarterbacks. The next year, though, so it's almost like if he's okay, you keep him one more year, Nick. Let's say if he's a top 15 guy, the Broncos should be talking possible playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the defense should still be good enough. You revert back to some of the norms from last year, losing all those one-score games, the injuries, that you make the playoffs with Russell Wilson, you go another year. Because the next year is when his base salary jumps from 17 to 37, and the total cash compensation is $45 million, and his cap hit goes from 35 in 2024, which still isn't that bad, to 55 in 2025. And his dead cap drops from 85 million to 49.6. Well, if I can get somebody to pick up a lot of that money in a trade, at least half of that money in the trade, his dead cap goes from 49 to 32. If I can get somebody to pick up half of that contract. So to me, it becomes, yes, you can eat what would be close to a record dead cap hit, but it would be a record dead cap hit because the Colts picked up a lot of Matt Ryan's salary. And his dead cap wasn't $89 million. And you don't want to spread that across 2 years and get 240s, Nick. That would be even worse. That, I think, probability speaking, if he is average to above average, he's back in 2024, and you make a decision in 2025 when it becomes much, much more financially feasible.
Yeah, the thing we've talked about on here is that there's a huge chunk of salary that gets guaranteed the 5th league day next season. So it would be the 2024 season. It's an guaranteed for injury, but it's a $37 million kick that is guaranteed. Now you take it more on the teeth immediately if you move on from him, but you're also saving long-term $37 million in comparison.
His 2025 guarantees in next year, before in the spring of 2024.
So yeah, the over the cap grid doesn't really capture it very well, but there's a caveat in his contract that he gets 37 million guaranteed if he makes it to the 5th league day, and he has that's completely guaranteed for injury if that occurs towards the end of the season, and also an extra 4 million dead cap hit is added on for 2026 for injury as well. So there's this massive
his base salary in 2025 is 37 million. That's where that money comes in.
So that becomes completely guaranteed. The 5th league
before
day.
The 2024 season,
on the 5th league day
of the 2024 season.
Yes.
So it's kind of like picking up your 5th year option. You do that the year before.
Yes.
Whew. Goodness.
So let me read it exactly. The 2024 cap scenario for the Broncos. The real decision point for the Broncos will come in 2024. If Wilson is on the 5th, if Wilson is on the roster the 5th day of the league year in 2024, then his 2025 salary will become
spring of 2024. Yeah, that's just like what we went through with your first round draft picks.
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy was playing on the 4th year of his rookie contract. You pick up his option for his 5th year, so you have 2 years of control. So what this is saying for dummies like me is next spring you have to make a 2-year decision on Russell Wilson.
Yep. So if you're in it, what are they in for a penny, in for a pound?
And the second year of that contract is ugly.
Yes.
It escalates wildly. It goes from a cap hit of 35 in 2024, manageable, to 55 in 2025, a base salary of 17 to a guaranteed of 37. The roster bonus of 8.4 stays the same.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to follow. That 37 million is not small. It's that 2025 salary becomes completely guaranteed. The 5th league day next season. So what would that be? March 20th or something like that, right when free agency starts, essentially. Right. Then, so we'll have an idea of what's going to happen. Colin Wood says,
I'll read it real quick. And Colin says, I still can't believe he just went bad all of a sudden and nobody could see it coming. Hoping last year was an aberration and partly on Hackett. Yeah, I expect him to come back for sure. I don't expect him to, I like to say, if you plot it on a line graph, good off a cliff, should bounce back. I don't expect it to come all the way back to where it was, but it should be better. The question that we have, Colin, is how much better is it going to take to commit another $80 million to him? Which is what you're going to have to do, and commit yourself for 2 more years financially. How much better is it going to have to be? We'll see. That's going to be a hell of a storyline this year, because every time he goes out there and plays, you start thinking, is this the guy I want for 2 more years? And ask yourself that. And do I want to tie 20% of my salary cap to this guy for 2 more years? Every time he's out there, that's a question that's going to be asked.
Yep. So yeah, after the season, it's a 2-year commitment to him. So it'll be interesting to follow and see what happens this year. Is he salvageable? And to what extent is he salvageable? I keep coming back that best case scenario, probably best case realistic scenario, is that he plays well enough that somebody would be willing to take on some of the contract, and it would still be, pennies on them, and they aren't going to be on the hook for, I think, a lot of the stuff carrying over. But it's complicated, without a doubt. We're going to see how it plays out. Lawrence Rivera saying, I've mentioned that we needed a tight end fullback. We got both, and they seem promising. Honestly, Russell's career depends on being healthy and being able to play. It depends on him, and Graziano also hints on this a bit, is playing within structure. Can Russell Wilson, do the easy things? He made a career in Seattle, would be able to hit, some home run balls. Not a lot of people had the efficiency hitting the deep passes as much as him. They had Tyler Lockett out there, Doug Baldwin, DK Metcalf as well. Now can he, work the quick game? Can he work the middle of the field? Can he keep an offense on schedule as his athleticism begins to wane, and he can't be escaping the pocket like he used to create those plays, or the layups are no longer him escaping and picking up, 10 yards with his feet. He's going to have to do it with his mind and his arm more in the system. And I don't have any doubt that Sean Payton's going to set up easy button throws for him on the regular on here, but can Russell Wilson hit them? That remains to be seen.
And do I want to pay $50 million for a guy to hit the easy throws that I have to baby my offense down and pare it down so that he can compete? That's Oh, I think you've mentioned this before, and I'm starting to agree with it. Is you may try and offset some of that big money with a rookie contract. You
Yep.
draft your quarterback, and that was in slow motion. Very cool, Nick.
Yep.
You go if I've got a rookie quarterback, and I average out my quarterback room, and I've got my starter as a rookie at $50 million. I don't know that 2024 that 2025 guaranteed is that's a big deal. That's like a poison pill in there, man.
Yep. It makes it tough, without a doubt. But we got a good comment then there from Lawrence. We appreciate you. I see David Cremello coming in here saying the Waltons have no problem eating Russell Wilson's money after the season if there's another poor overall performance. It just makes it harder to field a competitive team.
Yeah, so what? It still hits the salary cap, man. It's you still hit the dead cap. They like to say the salary cap's a myth. No, it's not. It's not a myth when you've got guys on big contracts that aren't playing. That's when it becomes very real. It's fine when you've got young guys that you keep extending. I'll just add another 5 years on his contract, and we'll run his average salary down because he's 25 and good. When they're 34 and waning in their career, and you do that, you just tie more of your future money to a guy that you don't want playing. So, yeah, the Waltons have no problem meeting his money. Fine. Arthur Blank did the same thing in Atlanta. Thomas Dimitroff has wasted literally $100 million in money for guys that weren't playing for the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank did it. The Waltons can do it. The Falcons had $85-90 million in dead cap last year. They were fielding 60% of a team. So the Waltons don't have anything to do with this on this part, except for, we can make this move, rip off the Band-Aid and start over, and we're not stuck with a quarterback who's playing subpar that's eating up a quarter of our salary cap. Instead, we'll be able to make a change and have the quarterback playing for somebody else that's eating up a quarter of our salary cap.
Yep. It's going to be interesting this season to follow, without a doubt. We do want to say hello to Stash Brannigan coming in over on Twitch. Good to see you, Stash. You're not alone over there on Twitch. Says a lot of people have been saying Russ won't look good outside of Pete's system. I don't think it was out of nowhere. Him falling a bit. A lot of people, especially in Seattle, were questioning Russell Wilson's ability, and specifically they were questioning Russell Wilson, what he wanted to be as a quarterback, and taking control of ownership of what an offense is, and letting Russ cook in comparison to what he was set up to do with the Seahawks, which was much more ground and pound, and then off play action, hit the deep balls over the top, and with the athleticism to keep the offense going from time to time when those home runs didn't materialize. The athleticism has dropped a bit. We'll see what he looks like this season. He's definitely dropped some weight, but I think it's pretty fair to say he's not going to be the same quarterback he was 8 years ago from the get up and go perspective. And a lot of the moves, again, we talked about all offseason. The Broncos, the moves they made this season was to become a much more run-oriented team. And that is, again, kind of leaning into Pete Carroll was right about the style of player that Wilson needs to be. And maybe Wilson understands that now. And it's much more willing to be that type of quarterback versus I need to build my legacy. I need to pass the ball a lot. I need to have the numbers because I want to win an MVP. It's much more important to win good football games and not look like you did last season than it is to try to chase an MVP.
Yeah, and for sure, because just reading through the comments, Jeremy says, I think you can tell by the way Payton has talked this offseason, but he's going to make Russ sink or swim and won't baby him. I've said it before, Nathaniel Hackett may have been just trying to passive aggressively let us know what was going on behind the scenes, because everything he said was Russ. It wasn't we've got to do this, unless it was we've got to make sure that Russ is comfortable. We've got to put Russ in the best situations. Russ is our quarterback. Russ. That ain't going to happen. And Sean Payton came in knowing that wasn't going to happen. Listen, if you want me to be here, it's my way or the highway. I'm rich. I've got options. I don't have to come. If you want me, it's going to be this way. And he's got, and those are the things you negotiate when you come in. I don't know what, I can almost see it this way is, Nate, we hired you to get Aaron Rodgers. You didn't. So we're doing it a different way now. Okay. It would have just been real interesting to see how all of that went down, where Nathaniel Hackett was just cut off at the knees and either let it happen or how it happened so early in his tenure, Nick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow this season. Sidejar, yep, exactly. And talking about Russell Wilson and everything, I pulled this up because I was curious. Somebody asked about where Trey Lance is ranked. A lot of this Russell Wilson stuff too. I'm curious to see what his leash is this season, how much rope he is given, because you have Chris Sims on his quarterback ranking. He's kind of releasing him, I think, 5 by 5. But his 32nd overall ranked quarterback this season, Jarrett Stidham, coming in 32 overall, saying buzzworthy quarterbacks, buzzworthy backups. And I knew that Sims, when the Broncos signed Jarrett Stidham, he went on a long, 10, 15-minute talking point about Stidham as well, talking about the upside, the talent, and a lot of teams really were interested in this guy. And this is one that we talked about other positions as well. This was picked by this regime. Jarrett Stidham was handpicked by this coaching staff, wanting to come in here. So I wouldn't be shocked at all that if Russell Wilson struggled this season, we might see Jarrett Stidham come in at some point for the Broncos to protect themselves from that 2025 massive guarantee of $37 million base, because it's only guaranteed for injury this season.
So Cristiano has a question we need to try and clarify on this one, because he asked, what happens if Russ is injured come the 5th day of the 2024 season? His contract will have already been guaranteed by then. So it's the 5th day of the new league year, which is March 5th or somewhere, or April 5th, somewhere along. It'd be March 5th. Like they flip over the new league year. That's what I was saying. It's in spring. It's spring before OTAs, before anything even happens in 2024. It's the 5th day of the new league year, which is March.
Yep.
So I've tried to put it in 50-year option terms. You have to decide on Jerry Jeudy a couple of weeks ago for the 2024 season. He's already got his contract for 2023, but the 5th-year option is for 2024. So you've got Jerry Jeudy under contract for 2 more years. That's how this works. It's the 5th day of the league year. If he's hurt on the 5th day of the 2024 season, you have already made that decision that you've got him for 2025, and he's guaranteed $37 million plus his options and a $55 million cap hit.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. Yeah, it's crazy. We saw it last year with the Derek Carr situation in Las Vegas, where he had a contract. Matt Ryan as well. They had contracts that were guaranteed for injury, and then their team said, "You know what? God bless you. We don't want you to get hurt because we don't want to be on the hook for that money long term." And they moved on. It would be not totally different, but a different level to see it happen with the Broncos after what they gave up and paid Wilson to do that just 2 years later. But it's something.
Nick froze up. I'm trying to think of pay and giving up
to you guys to not discuss.
We might be Trey Lance also. You froze up a little bit, Nick.
Yeah.
So I was thinking,
I'm here. I'm back.
Move on from somebody so quickly with you're giving up. Now it's draft compensation versus financials, but
and draft.
Trey Lance.
Yeah, Trey Lance as well.
Oh yeah, that's financials and draft compensation for Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, by the time the Broncos are out of this, struggles with this contract, if it doesn't work out for them, Patrick Mahomes will be 4 years older at that point. So that'll be 4 years closer to retirement for him, but it'll be rough. And Colin Wood saying he's only 34. Well, you look at the landscape of the AFC last year for quarterbacks, and it was not a lot of quarterbacks. Was it none of the quarterbacks in the playoffs in the AFC were over 30 years old? It was something crazy.
The other part I'm thinking of this might be because of the way that the position has changed with so many of the pure throwers playing baseball. Your 6'5", 95-mile-an-hour fastballers are playing baseball. They're not throwing anymore, where you've got more athletes at the position. 34 is still young in the quarterback world, but how many of those are dual threat guys? Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know that he's beating you with his legs after 33 years old. He's got a wicked arm and always has been. I said you could put him in center blocks and he could still beat you. Could we say that about Russ? Through his career. So how many dual threat guys are playing into their mid-30s?
Not too many. Yeah, just looking at the AFC playoffs last season, the only quarterback that was not on their rookie contract that was starting was Josh Allen and the Bills. And also Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But those are 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks in football. After that, you had Joe Burrow, probably another one of the top 5. Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa.
I think some of that's just timing. Just the way the old guard and the new guard coming in, because the guys that were in the playoffs last year could be around a while. And they will, in 3 years, we could say, hey, there's only one rookie contract quarterback there, because a lot of those guys are it's just a changing of the guard. I think it's cyclical as far as the old versus the new. I think that's more of a coincidence than. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. If I can use my rookie contract to have that guy, but they're not going to not sign Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's not going to stop winning football games.
We'll have to see how it plays out with that one, because I've said on here many times, there's no cheat code like a good quarterback on a rookie contract. And once those guys get paid and there's other rookie quarterbacks that come in, it can be a little bit different. Last season was a perfect storm of the age, talent, plus rookie contracts coming in the AFC specifically.
But those guys have to come in. There's no guarantee they will. That's kind of what I mean. I'm like, Trevor Lawrence is set for a while. Joe Burrow is set for a while. There's no, Drake May and Caleb Williams could be those guys, but we haven't seen much out of the last couple of classes in this class for sure, to say that Anthony Richardson's going to bring these guys up, or Bryce Young's going to turn them into contenders right away. So they have to come in, and they've got to beat out the good established players, where in the last 3 years, we've had some good quarterbacks that are either past their sell date or have left the game.
Yeah. I agree. I just am curious to see what those teams, you have to evolve. And when you pay the quarterbacks their second contract, things change for how you can build those teams. So it'll be fun to watch how all those teams pivot, specifically the Bengals and the Chargers, because they're going to lose their rookie cost control. And also now the Ravens are going to have to pay that huge money. So it'll be fun. Lawrence Rivera coming in and saying, I always hated how we got rid of Tebow with Manning and Locke with Russell. We screw our future when we could have sat and learned. I don't think that the two quarterbacks that the Broncos got rid of would have gone and done too much still in Denver. I mean, Tim Tebow also would have been in Peyton's shadow for next 4 seasons. I don't know how much he would have actually learned at that point at the quarterback position.
He would have left if he was good enough.
Yeah. And so, Drew Lock.
Lawrence, remember, not everybody has the same developmental timeline. If I draft this guy as a rookie and he's a 69 in Madden, he's going to keep going up. Sometimes they're just not good enough, and you cut bait.
I think that, I mean, we saw it this season. What does the market say? Jarrett Stidham, same age as Drew Lock, and was considered a more highly prized asset on the open market and paid more. So you had a chance to bring back Drew Lock. Every team had a chance at Drew Lock. He went back and signed, what was it, a 1 year or 2 year contract to be a backup to Geno Smith in Seattle. There's the market for you. Well, the market could be wrong. It's wrong all the time, but I think it's a pretty good indicator of where these guys' value is. And Jarrett Stidham, same age, same level. You paid him and you brought him in. So you have your young-ish quarterback there that has a chance to develop there. So, and apparently Chris Sims, 32nd overall ranked quarterback going into the season. So,
and Taylor Heineke, 33. So there's another quality backup you can go trade for if need be. So all the rookies behind those guys, and that makes sense to a certain extent, to do 40 on that. So where are we at here with the Denver Broncos? We've hashed Russell Wilson's contract for the next 33 minutes, last 33 minutes. What are you expecting this season?
I'm expecting a quarterback who reverts back to some of the same tendencies where the Broncos build an offense to minimize what he does poorly and maximize what he does well, where it's going to be much more heavy personnel, and the entire game plan is trying to force teams into playing single high safety looks. And then when you get them in those type of positions, that's when you can hit them over the top with the home run balls. But it's not going to be a quick pass, volume oriented passing game. It's going to be a game of chess where the entire game you are trying to set up the right situation to hit that home run ball. It can't just be home run balls left or right. It has to be trying to set things up long term and then hitting that kill shot like a good boxer, chest shot, chest body blow. Okay, I've hit him enough. I've softened him. Shot to the chin on that one. So that's what I expect this season from Russell Wilson and this offense. I think it's enough to be competent this year on that side of the ball, but I do think that long term you're going to have question marks because Russell Wilson is going to be missing throws, specifically in the quick pass game, specifically in the middle of the field, that are going to be, I think, somewhat considered unacceptable from Sean Payton, given his demand of perfection in his system that he views as the best, obviously. And I think he's going to have some problems with that, but they'll do what they can to maximize Russell Wilson, put him in the best situation possible. But what does Sean think about where they're going with that offense going forward? And if Russell Wilson is the guy to take that to the next level, or if Sean Payton feels like what he is designing is capped because there's some things that he wants to do that Russell Wilson simply can't do.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the Broncos are going to be better this year. They're going to play better. And you keep asking how much of it is despite Russell Wilson or because of Russell Wilson. And that will answer the question that they've got a big, and they may have already answered the question, man. You know, they may have their minds made up that we're going to have to make a decision and move on before the fifth league year of 2024, which is what, 10 months away? It's
not even.
I mean, I don't know about you, but these years are like 2025. Isn't that when we're supposed to have flying cars and teleportation? It sounds crazy to me, but that's like, we have to make this decision in 10 months. Decision might already be made, man. The decision may have been made before Sean Payton was hired.
Yeah. Although, with considering how much power they've given Sean Payton for the personnel and the team vision, I think that the decision has been transferred over to Sean Payton. Not entirely, but
that's what I mean. It was part of the negotiation process.
Oh, yes.
That's what I mean. It's like, I'm not coming if I'm strapped to this guy for the next 5 years. You guys have to be able to move on from him next year and eat that salary, or I'm not coming.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yes. And Colin Wood asking, I'll have to look for the heat map on this and the efficiency numbers, but was Breeze good at throwing over the middle of the field? I remember him being very good in the quick pass game, but some of that might have been behind the line of scrimmage too, getting the ball out to, the Darren Sproles and the Alvin Kamaras of the world. I do recall him being pretty good over the middle of the field, good within the pocket and getting rid of the ball quickly, because he would throw it before he saw it. And with Russell Wilson, I think a lot of times he has to see it to throw it. And that's an issue for a shorter quarterback operating within the confines of the pocket. So I'd have to find the actual data to back that up. That's just purely me going off of my memory on that one. But I do remember Breeze being fairly good working in the middle of the field despite his size.
Yeah, I don't remember where he threw it. I just knew he could throw it when he wanted to. Played against him twice a year in Atlanta and just watched him dice up the Falcons. I think he was only about 500 against Atlanta in his career, but was really, really good. So just pencil it in for like 90% completions and 400 yards. It was crazy. I just know he knows how to get the ball to his playmakers, how he used to do that. And again, the short passing game was an extension of the running game. So when Alvin Kamara is catching 80 passes for 4 straight years, it gives you an idea that I'm going to get some easy completions. Can we hit those? So we saw the screen passing game last year was non-existent because your offensive linemen were bullied and immobile. That's a bad combination. So there's going to be a lot of change. Again, I expect to see efficiency and competency on the offensive side of the ball right away, which will benefit everybody. And then with Russell Wilson, you can turn this thing around and go 11-6. You've got all kinds of options with Russell Wilson, including keeping him. So Wicked Royalty says, Scott, looks like you could use some extra coffee this morning, looking kind of tired. I'm worried. Don't be. I'm just old, man. So yeah, I'm probably older than you think. So do what I can here.
Yeah, that's Scott, you look fine. I don't know about looking tired, but it's Monday. It's the 4-letter F.
I look good for 65, don't I?
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy Sean coming in. Jeremy, I think Scott and I are starting to rub off on you a little bit. Don't lose that shine. He says, I honestly think the Broncos fans need to be guarded against the Russ is back narrative that is surely coming. And then Colin Wood says, Russ rides again. I think you can be excited about the Broncos offense being better, but understand that a lot of it is probably reverting back to where Russell Wilson was winning with Seattle and that style of offense. And that style of play, surely, especially, we've hit this narrative a lot, but where defenses are at nowadays, we will do everything possible within our power to get rid of the explosive plays on the other end. And that hurts a quarterback like Russell Wilson more than almost any other quarterback in the league, given how dependent he has been on those home run balls. So that in combination with his age, it can look better. I think you can build an offense that is better for him long-term, but just where defenses are at nowadays, with where Russell Wilson is probably going at his age, with the limitations in that style of offense from a down-to-down perspective and efficiency, it's probably capped, I guess, is where I'm getting at with that. So it'll be better this season, and Broncos fans will be excited, and we'll see Russell Wilson's still going to make some incredible home run balls because he has some throws in there that are like, he put together his 10 best throws last season. You're like, oh my God, this guy still has it, because the arm talent is there. He can hit some of those upper tier stuff, but it's hitting those singles and doubles constantly. Way too many strikeouts. the William Opena kind of situation there. But throwback there for anybody who remembers him. But that's the big concern here with Russell Wilson this season for me.
And Roderick said Breeze was also about a foot taller than Wilson. He never threw it over the middle. No, Breeze was at best 6 foot. So there may have been an inch in separate, 5'11" and a half. So they were the same. I know this because every upper middle class white kid's dad who had a 5'11" quarterback in the recruiting world used to say, "What about Drew Brees?" I'm like, "Yeah, 1 in a million. Good luck. Good luck." So he wasn't. Brees was not tall. That's why there's so many comparisons about, can Sean Payton do with Russell Wilson what he did with Drew Brees? Maybe. Oh, Wicked. He said, "That's amazing. You look much younger than 65. What's your secret?" Lie. You lie. See, when you lie, always lie older. If I told you I was 35, you'd be like, "Dude, you look like crap." Yeah. So no, I'm 50. I turned 50 this year.
Well, I don't want to say my age because then it'll be like Nick. A lot of time, I think it was Eric's mom said I look like I'm 20 years old. So I guess thanks, Eric's mom.
I turned 50 in January, so I'm already halfway through this year.
Well, it's been a good year, and today's been a good show, and we got Gary coming in to close us out here as the final Monday show for a bit. It says, if Russ has a big year, he could overcome the bias against him, but it has to be epic. Go Broncos. Yep, it's not a clean slate this season without a doubt, and he's going to be having to prove a lot of people wrong, and I hope that we come back and say, wow, we were wrong. He answered all our questions, and we look silly looking back. Doubted him. Last season was an outlier, put more on Hackett than anybody else in that offensive staff. Certainly a possibility. And I know that Sean Payton's going to bet on himself to maximize what Russell Wilson has, but this will be a fun season. And as Dan Graziano says, can Sean Payton save Russell Wilson? I don't know if he can save Russell Wilson, but can he salvage Russell Wilson? I think that is certainly a possibility this season.
And the thing is, the salvage would change the narrative too. It would be nice to hear some positive things about a genuinely who seems to be good person and Russell Wilson. And as Gary says, if Russ has a big year, he could overcome the bias against him. But it has to be epic. It just has to be competent, and they tried to make him they didn't try. They made him the face of the franchise, the face of the marketing campaigns. And then he upset a lot of people in Seattle when he, kind of helped force his way out of there. And there was a lot of schadenfreude going on that people enjoyed seeing him fall flat on his face. Keep your mouth shut, go to work and win some ball games and things will work out. Yeah.
And he's been very much, seen or not even heard or seen this offseason, which is good. That's after last season, all the let's ride and the publicity. Well, that stuff is not cheesy and annoying when you're winning football games and playing great. But when you play like you did last season, it's bad. It kind of reminds me, I think we talked about it on here before. The scene in Step Brothers where they're interviewing in the tuxes. And then John C. Reilly lets out a 10-second flatulence scene. And he's like, you wore tuxes and then you did that and it tastes like ketchup. Like, get out. This is gross now. It's not cool. Like wearing the tuxes for it. Russell Wilson came into the interview in a tux, and then last season he ripped a 10-second fart on TV for everybody to see in prime time 7 times.
You got to see Bull Durham so you can come up with a better analogy, because I don't like that one as much. It's kind of gross. This one is the one from Bull Durham is when you win 20 in the show and you have fungus on your shower shoes, the press will call you colorful. Until you win 20 in the show, it means you're a slob.
Yep. So
it's winning takes care of all that stuff. You're quirky, you're colorful when things are going well. Yeah. When they're not, you're corny and not real enough and all these type of things. Who's real for us though? Michael Ranquillo. Absolutely. Appreciate you coming in with the stars, my friend. He says, great show today, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and buck 'em. And Peter Middleton. There are subscriptions available on the website, on the Facebook pages. And Peter's been a subscriber for 2 years. So thank you, sir, for your contributions.
Yeah, good to see Quentin coming in as we're getting out of here. Been busy. Well, busy's good sometimes. Hope you're doing well overall. Gary also says, I think Sean has already made up his mind. That's why I would say epic will be fun. And then Jeremy comes in and says, nobody's been more excited to have Mondays off than Nick is. Scott this morning when we first started the show was like, I cannot wait to have Mondays off for a little bit. And I feel it too.
Wicked royalty helped nail it in a little bit. I got some adrenaline going and some caffeine, but Monday mornings, after being out in the sun all weekend for like 12 hours at a time, Monday mornings, I feel hungover and I don't drink. I'm like, oh, I'm unplugged. So yeah. Y'all help me keep me going though. So it's great to be here. It's like our own little support club in the daytime. So your group therapy sessions in broad daylight.
Yeah, and I feel like I do keep announcing it because we have you guys so trained and myself trained for Monday mornings. So we'll be off for a bit, probably until August, September for those
August.
Mondays. But
Once
we'll
they
be
get back
back.
to camp. Once they back to camp, we'll do it.
I'm going to
I'll
be
do it
gone
without
so
Nick
much
if
in
I have to.
August. But yeah, that's I got a lot of backpacking trips planned. But yeah, I'm gonna do the J section of the PCT. Gonna go down to Yosemite for a week. It'll be a good time. But yeah, Gary comes in. I think Sean has already made up his mind, and that's why I say this season will be epic. Well,
Gary, and I do agree with that. I kind of hinted around that a few minutes ago, saying he may have already made up his mind. So it would take something epic to say we got to keep this guy. That's a good shout, Gary.
yeah. Yeah, good shout. And Scott, I think it's time to wrap up. We're at 45 minutes on a Monday in the almost to June, and the content is still running, but it's running a little bit dry. So we're going to wrap it on up here, and we'll be back again tomorrow. If you guys have anything we want to talk about, then make sure you hit us up on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Make sure you guys are following us on there. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB_pod, and as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook community, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says here underneath, please remember to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Mile High Huddle. Like the show, like this specific show right now, and share it on your social media platforms. We will be live again tomorrow morning. Scott, any final thoughts before we wrap it on up and get out of here?
No, I like I said, I didn't quite understand the contract, so I'm glad we've got that cleared up, where there's a big decision coming for the Denver Broncos and financials with Russell Wilson come March of this coming year. 10 months. Big decisions for us is easy. Ethan, he's number one. That's our big decision. Been with us since the beginning. We've been doing this. This is our third year doing Broncos for breakfast, Nick. And God, time flies. And Ethan, the DWI guys, has been with us from the beginning, a huge supporter of the show. One of the main reasons we're keep doing this and try and get better and better. So Ethan, thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Had a lot of fun. We will be back again tomorrow morning. But until then, you guys make sure you continue to choose kindness and compassion. I know it's sometimes rough out there to do that, but everybody's going through their own thing. So just be kind. That's all it takes. And go Broncos as always. Have a good one, guys.